Welcome to Freshman Film Room. If you're new to this series, we'll be breaking down film for each of UMass's 7 freshmen, analyzing some strengths and weaknesses and potential fit, but as always, it's not a definitive scouting report, just a primer ahead of the season. Today, we'll look at CJ Jackson. A 6'6" guard out of Atlanta, Jackson was a bit of a combo guard at Athens Prep in Tennessee, at times as ball dominant as a point guard, but often spending time as the 2 or the 3. He also had offers from Canisius, Little Rock, and Cornell, but signed with the Minutemen in May. I found Jackson to be the toughest player to evaluate throughout this process, but we'll give it a shot. Offensively, Jackson's most successful when he's going to the basket. His game going to the rim is impressive, with a strong handle and a quick first step to beat defenders off the dribble. He maneuvers well through tight spaces and knows how to use his length to finish over or around defenders at the basket. His quickness at 6'6" is arguably his best attribute, with the sort of acceleration and handle you'd expect from a smaller guard. He's also fairly adept at getting to the free throw line, his penetration leading to fouls and trips to the line. His ability to get to the rim forces defenders to rotate and leave someone open, and Jackson is an above-average playmaker. He threads passes through tight windows and frees up open shots and layups, often as a result of those drives to the rim. As a shooter, Jackson is pretty streaky. He can hit the mid-range and from 3, but it sort of seems to come and go. There are certain games where he'll finish 0 for 4 from 3 and have to rely on his game going to the basket, and others where it seems like he can't miss. To his credit, suiting up as a Minuteman for the first time when the team made the trip to the US Virgin Islands in August, it was the latter. Against the British Virgin Islands All-Stars, he finished with 28 points on 9 of 17 from the field, going 4 of 8 from 3 and hitting all 6 of his free throws. 2 days later, he had 15 against the US Virgin Islands, hitting all 3 triples he took. A small sample, sure, but he's capable of those sorts of games. And even if the various teams of the Virgin Islands aren't exactly Virginia's pack line defense, it's still tough to hit shots at that clip with a defender standing in front of you. As a pretty big guard at 6'6", Jackson can also be a solid rebounder. He might not be Charles Barkley, but he seems capable of grabbing a couple extra boards as a rebounding guard. Defensively, it's complicated. Jackson reminds me a bit of Sean East in that he's pretty quick and can stay in front of his man as a solid on-ball defender, but he can sort of float a bit defensively. There are moments where he can lock up a man, and others where he's either gambling at a bad time or just looks a little bit languid. Jackson's quickness means he can close out and contest shooters even when he's a little late, and he has the potential to be a good defender. His length leads to a surprising number of blocks for a guard, and he doesn't seem to have any reservations about meeting a dude at the rim, which is a good thing. And if he stays locked in, he can be a positive on that end. I think the 2 biggest concerns with Jackson are shot selection and turnovers. The former is, admittedly, not great, and there are a lot of moments where you wonder about the shot selection. There are a few too many step-back threes and contested fadeaways and that sort of thing, but that's an easier thing to clean up. The turnovers are sort of a byproduct of Jackson's aggressiveness as a passer. Sometimes those windows are a little too tight, and he can throw the ball away a little more often than you'd like. He has a habit of leaving his feet before making a pass, and when there's a man open, he has momentum at a better angle, but when there isn't, he has a problem to deal with and only a split second to make a decision before he lands and gets hit with a traveling call. That sort of thing is also coachable, and it almost might be a necessity. There are bad turnovers, but sometimes there are great passes too. There are a few moments like these where he throws a pass and I'm like, okay, well that's a turnover, and then it works, so what the hell do I know? So, let's recap. CJ Jackson is a very good slasher, a long guard with impressive quickness who can get to the rim and can finish when he gets there. He's a good playmaker who can create for his teammates, and he's a strong ball handler, as well as a streaky shooter who can get hot from time to time. He can be a good on-ball defender with great lateral quickness, and he's a strong rebounder for a guard as well. On the flip side, his shot selection needs some work and he's a bit turnover prone, and he's not always the most engaged defender in the world and can sort of float in and out of games. He's also a streaky shooter, yes, I am putting this in both columns, who can occasionally struggle to get it going from deep. I'll add one more thing. I think Jackson's combination of slashing, ball handling, and playmaking at 6'6" makes him a really versatile option. He could fit either at the 2 or the 3, and could probably run point at a push if there was a need for it. Options are always good, and CJ Jackson provides options. This is probably the toughest floor-ceiling judgment I've had to make, and again, I found CJ Jackson to be the hardest player to evaluate out of the bunch. I think if I'd picked 5 different games to scout, I'd have had differing conclusions, but in any case, at the very least, he's solid backcourt depth in year 1, but he has the potential to make an impact as a combo guard who can play a variety of roles. I struggle to see him starting, mostly because he's probably a 2, and Carl Pierre is one of the only locks in the starting lineup this year, but development is hard to project. CJ Jackson's got athleticism and tools, and that could go a long way. Thanks for watching. You can follow the Collegian on Twitter at MDCollegian and at MDC_sports, and myself at Amin_Tory, and you can check out all of our content at dailycollegian.com. This has been Freshman Film Room. Next week, we'll cover Preston Santos.